Right,
That's
I
better.
think we're live now.
Well, I
Possibly.
hope so. I don't know what they do have or haven't seen of the last 20 seconds, to be honest.
Well, luckily that was just the practice run, you know.
Okay.
So yeah, basically something happened. I'm not too sure what it is, but like a mini paranormal investigator, I'm probably just gonna blame it on the spirits, and we'll draw a line under it. Okay.
I think we should.
So it wasn't
It's been a bit of a
me,
weird day.
and it wasn't the computer. It was the spirits' fault. We're gonna blame the spirits on this one for making us late because we were here like 20 minutes ago, but the buttons don't work on the computer. So today we're talking crystals. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Now,
are.
I think I'm under the false impression, like many people, in order to work magic with crystals, I got to go out and buy myself one of these mini crystal Bibles and then memorize it so that I know when I walk into the crystal shop and I see the lovely crystal display like that,
Yes.
I need to know what each one of them does. So I can look it up and I can say, me rose quartz. Oh,
Yeah.
can you feel the love and energy? I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to stick it down my bra and hope a man comes along and proposes. Am I doing the crystal magic right, Chris, or is there more to it than that?
I think that's how it's often done, I must admit.
Right, okay. Is that how you
But
work?
it's
Have
not
you
how I
ever
work.
stuck a rose quartz crystal somewhere private?
I haven't actually. Although I'm coming up with some ideas, but we'll see. Um it's one of those where unfortunately, now that we have these, well, I say unfortunately, it's nice to have access to all these magical looking things, big shiny baubles that you can buy by the drove. I think part of what you were saying when we weren't technically live and we thought we were live was obviously a big problematic part is people starting to realize the ecological damage that you're doing by buying them and supporting that we turn everything like I remember going through Instagram, I think it was last year, and they were selling rose quartz bathtubs, and you're just kind of like thinking, okay, one, who needs that much rose quartz in their life?
You can never have enough of rose quartz. Rose quartz is a pretty in a pink. No?
Well, I suppose I don't like them, so stop baiting me. We'll get to how much I hate rose quartz later.
You mean you haven't got a rose quartz bath?
I don't have a rose quartz bath, and you couldn't pay me enough to get one.
If you did get in a rose quartz bath, would it like
It
crack
might.
or
I
something?
think
Do you
it might
think because of
explode.
the negativity?
Or though it might be a nice way to do like a special drowning bath.
Right.
So anybody that sits in it would drown. That would be really good. I think I might
Okay.
get myself one. I've changed my mind.
But
Order
Chris,
me a
rose
rose
quartz
quartz
can
bath.
only be used for good things because I looked it up in the Crystal Bible and rose quartz is a loving. How can a rose quartz hurt?
At the end of the day,
Explain the secret magics of how the
okay,
crystals work. If I want to
rose
kill
quartz is
someone
just
with this and I don't want to cheat and I throw it at someone's head and then run away before the police catches me, then how do I go about doing that? Can I use this piece of rose quartz to harm someone? Use some black baneful magic? Can I do that with the rose quartz? Because the Crystal Bible, it says no. But I'm wondering whether the best use for these crystal Bibles is for toilet paper.
wow.
Because
I
I
wasn't
mean,
going to
there's
go. I
already
wasn't
a
going to go
shit on
quite
it.
that far. I wasn't going to go that quite far because at the end of the
Well,
day, some geologist has put some of some of the hard bits, the truthful bits of work in there together
yeah, but a broken
by
clock's
checking
right twice a day,
densities
isn't it?
and doing stuff like that. So I think that's cruel. You can't say that entirely. At the end of the day, lots of crystal. There are millions of the damn things. And they come in all sorts of varieties, all sorts of colours, with all sorts of potential. Unless you are able to actually tap into the frequencies of which these can vibrate and make them vibrate at those frequencies, know exactly what to do with that, you're talking bollocks. So because the actual amount of people in the world that I've ever met that use crystals on a daily basis do not understand how that works. So having a crystal around you does not rise you to that frequency just by it being around you. That's not how crystals work.
Whoa.
So
But the lady in the shop, when she sold me the rose quartz crystal, she said, hello, mister, looky, you need some rose quartz in your life. Just to wear it on your person, and then love will come to you. And I did that, and I got a sore ass because I put it on the back pocket of my trousers, and then I sat down, and it really hurt.
Yeah.
And this one's a bit of jagged rose quartz, a bit like ice, bit jagged rose quartz. And I'm still waiting for the thing to manifest what she promised me. She promised me all I needed was to spend 25 quid on this piece of rose quartz that she bought for 25p, and that if I put it in my pocket, good things will happen. Are you telling me that she's missold this and that she's a liar?
She may have missold you that. She may have missold you that.
But
I think you're a
why
mug.
is that?
Is what I'm going to say.
Because she went on a crystal healing course, and she's got a diploma. It was on the wall behind the counter. Diploma from the Centre of Excellence on a crystal healing. So she must know, surely.
Obviously.
Right. So is she a unscrupulous saleswoman, and she just tried to palm me off on a dodgy rose quartz? Is there no batteries in it?
No, I don't think that's what she tried to do, Liam.
There?
I think she's just an unknowing new ager, and that's all she had to offer you.
Right,
she probably believed what she told you.
She probably did. I did get the sincerity that came through when I was.
Do you want to actually talk about crystals now, rather than slagging off Glastonbury?
How did you know it was in Glastonbury, Chris?
Well, I just assumed.
How did you know? How did you know it was a crystal shop from Glastonbury? Aside from me living not too far away from it, but I mean, how did you know?
I could see the disappointment in your eyes.
Is it something to do with the fact that when we went to Glastonbury that time, and you might have cursed all of the rose quartz crystals because you didn't like them, and then an unscrupulous person, some poor person that went in after you a couple of months later, looked in the crystal quartz section, and then they thought, oh, I get me some of that pink because I love the pink, and I buy that. How much, lady? £4. £4 for that tiny little crystal? That's a bargain. I'll take that for £4. I know it only cost you 5p, but I mean, come on, this is Glastonbury. There's business rates and all that. I know you've got to make a money and you've got to feed the kids. So I'm perfectly.
Are you going to stop at any point for breath?
£4 for this piece of rose quartz.
Have you finished your rant yet?
Saying now. But yeah,
you were just ranting.
It up, and
you got on your soapbox.
Not bringing me the love. The reason it's not bringing me the love because some nasty witch, such as yourself, because I've seen you do this. Some nasty witch comes in and curses all of the rose quartz because that nasty witch, that Fausty witch, don't like the rose quartz.
I would never do that.
You've done it before. What are you talking about?
I like Monopoly. Not Monopoly. What's the one? Bingo. No. What's the other one? Roulette. That's it.
Oh, I love a bit of roulette, me. Yeah.
Bit of roulette.
Russian roulette.
No, I wouldn't curse all of them.
Crystals. Will it be accursed? Or won't it be accursed?
Exactly. Still. That's the risk you take with all of these. If you're not going to cleanse your crystals properly. So anyway, can we actually talk about crystals?
Well, yeah, that's what we're talking about. So in terms of I'm trying to ascertain from you, the professional, why when I got the
I don't have a Centre of Excellence diploma.
Why it didn't bring me the love? Now, I have been doing some research online, right? And it does
Okay.
say that many people die trying to get these rose quartz crystals out of the ground. So could that negativity have crept in that crystal as that poor child was there blooded with their hand poking out with a rose quartz crystal on it, poking out from the soil where the landslide collapsed, all blooded, and the person that runs the miner came along and went, "Oh, thanks, Jade. Jade's not the crystal. Jade's the poor girl that got killed. I'll take that," and then stuck it on the delivery to be delivered to a wholesaler, which is in the UK, which then delivered it to the Glastonbury shop, which I went and bought it from. Is this rose quartz cursed because of all the deaths? Is that what it is? I'm trying to work out what went wrong, Chris.
I just think you're on a rant. I don't think you care. I
Well, am
think
I
you think
wrong?
this is all. I think you sort of think this is all silly.
I mean, a lot of these crystals, if for every, because we're nasty witches, so we sell crystals, and we are perfectly aware of the horrible things that people have to go through in order to mine them and such like that. So if you could say, in terms of, for every a crystal in that crystal shop, that's the one soul that's been dispatched before their time. We got a nice collection of souls, as you can see. This is the nice little wagon wheel here from the shop. So we like to organize things in color, don't we, Chris? So for every many of these crystals, some poor person's probably died getting that in the ground now.
You know, it's mostly true. It's not obviously all of them, but particular minerals from particular areas are getting harder and harder to get to.
Yeah.
And some just are that tricky to get to in the first place. That yes,
Right.
but we still want to pay £1 for them, so we will continue allowing that to happen as we do.
And we sell them all on the Thoth Witchcraft Shop for £1 each. That's £1 per crystal. That's not bad. Don't matter what crystal it is, they're all £1 each. That's bloody brilliant.
It is
and
brilliant.
some of them, you might even get a free fragment of someone's soul with it, because it could have been one of those lucky ones or unlucky ones, depending on which way you look at it, where someone died trying to get out of the ground. Now, I've got another question, Chris, because we know from the
I don't think I even answered that one.
From the Crystal Bible, right? From the Crystal Bible, all of this plain quartz, yeah, it's absorbing and such, yeah. So, if someone died in a crystal quartz mine, would part of their soul be trapped in it? Or if they died in an obsidian mine, getting the
So
obsidian,
this is the same question again, just dressed up a different way, yeah?
Would it, depending on the crystal, would that person be linked to it, or would it be less lucky or more lucky? I don't know. You're the expert. Tell me.
Okay. Can you take it even remotely seriously for a second?
That's about when we get to 8:30. I'll take it seriously then.
Oh God, this is going to be a long show.
Because from what I can tell, most people in the crystal healing and the crystal Reiki and the crystal witchcraft area of expertise don't seem to take it seriously. And if they are taking it seriously, I'm very worried. As a professional witch, I'm very worried for the state of magical knowledge, I have to say. So, what would you like to talk about, Chris, then? Because apparently
I'm fine touching the dark system. You know you are. You know that I'm going to happily talk about it, because at the end of the day, it's one of those things where when we are teaching, and I ask you to go and create a charm bag, because you love to say everything's a charm bag with me, is that you go and collect those pieces yourself. I think, and what the difference is the fact that you should understand that if the mineral you are adding to it, what that mineral is going to do. And by that, I don't mean looking it up in a crystal Bible. What I'm asking you to tell me is, what is that adding to the work that you're doing?
But Chris,
Yes.
how
You're
can
going to
I
let me
do
finish,
that if I
Liam?
can't look it up in
Or
the
are you just
crystal
going to
Bible
take the piss?
or the Scott Cunningham book?
Oh my God.
How can I do it? How do I know what it does? Because I've been on the checkout at the Thoth Witchcraft Shop, hashtag thothwitchcraft.com, right, and at events, and I have the same person coming up to me 3 times in a row. Do you know what she says? She comes over and she says, hello.
I swear you're trying to push me to a nervous breakdown today.
What does this one do? And what would you say to that, Chris? When she says, Mr. Chris, what does this one do?
I normally say it's a rock.
But it's a crystal, it's not a rock. The rocks are over in the rock section. I've organised this. The rocks are in the rock section.
It's a rock.
But it's shiny and see-through.
It's a rock.
It's quite hard. So that's what you'd say. But the thing is, what I'm a bit worried about is that I'm worried that you haven't answered her question. So when she says...
Because you're not letting me...
What does it do,
I'm going to
Chris?
kill you
What
today.
does it do?
I really am.
She wants to know. She's waiting by the till. She's going to
really
make a
horrible
purchase.
Things are going to happen
She's
to
going
you.
to pay that £1 for this. And she wants to know, before she buys it, what it does. Mm-hmm. So what does it
Luckily,
do?
you're not stood next to me at the time, because I'd ram it down your throat.
Well, what does it do?
It's a crystal.
Right. What's the magical properties of the crystal, this rose
Magical
quartz?
properties of a crystal will depend on what it's made of. But at the same time, they're all...
It's made of clear quartz. Sorry, it's made of clear quartz.
Liam.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Do you need a more
really
difficult question?
Today.
Do you need a more difficult question?
No,
right,
you're not asking.
Let's go back. Let's go back. Right. If I look in me a crystal wheel and I say, oh, this one here, this is a black one. And as we always know, when it comes to crystals, if it's black, it must be a bad. Am I allowed to carry this? Because it's not my zodiac sign crystal. If I carry it, am I going to die or something?
Liam. To be fair, leave it on the wheel and just don't talk. Okay. And I might manage to get some information out.
Okay.
There we go. You're going to be a good boy now?
Not if I can help it.
Right. Because all Liam has done so far is slate crystals and talk over me, I'll give you a little bit. So, like Liam said, in that situation, I probably would have said, at the end of the day, it's a stone. What does it tell you? So in that moment, it would be a case of, okay, well, tell me why you've picked that stone and what you're going to do with it. So I'm not going to tell you what it is. I said I can hazard a guess, but to be honest, most of the time, because I know what's roughly in there, and I know a fair amount about the individual stones that we get. But the problem is, my question would be, why do you want the tiger's eye, or why do you want the carnelian, or why have you picked the rose quartz? Because what is it saying to you? The same way we would chat about any other ingredient, what is the ingredient saying to you? So, for example, I'm not going to use a rose quartz. The main reason I'm not going to use a rose quartz is because I can't stand them. The colour, the muted pink, it does nothing for me. I hate pink. If you were to try and use a rose quartz to make me fall in love with you, you're going to have trouble with that. The main reason for that is nothing about it would attract me. So you can't tell me that you can use a rose quartz to make me come over there. It's not going to happen. However, you go and try one of those blue things or one of those green things over the back. That's right, I can't quite see, but there'll probably be a blue sodalite or probably a greeny blue that I can see a bit of turquoise from over here, and there's some amazonite over there. But at the end of the day, you're not going to manage to attract me if that's what the plan was. I'm not being presumptuous, but you're not going to be able to attract me in order to do that with a rose quartz. So if you're doing a spell and you don't like pink, why have you picked a pink stone in order to represent that type of energy that you're trying to pull in? You just wouldn't, or at least you shouldn't. So there is no point. The same way with any set of correspondences, by all means, check the correspondences afterwards, or have a flick through and, you know, bibliomancy your way through and just select a random ingredient and learn more about it. He's still pushing me today. And then learn more about it. By all means, how does it grow? Where does it grow? You know, same with the stone. Where is the stone from?
I'll look it up in my crystal book.
What sort of properties does it have? And then you start to build the work around it. So if you're going to approach it from that way, in a more organic way, you're going to get better results. The reason is, just because the book says is not a reason for you to do it. It doesn't have the innate ability to change your spell in that way. So it has the properties, you've got to activate them. If you're not capable of activating them, then you're not going to be able to get that result. What you will get with any crystalline structure is it to act like a prism, that it will it can be used to focus or disperse energy. The same way, you know, look at what a crystalline structure does. So that is exactly what it is. Most of the brightly coloured ones in there are probably some variety of quartz. Quartz in its most simple form, the clear quartz that Liam was rubbing around at earlier, is its cleanest form. So if you don't know what it's capable of doing, start with that one. You know, it's got a clear, it's not coloured, it's going to be used for multiple things because it's not got a colour association, etc. So you can use the cleanliness of it, etc., to do stuff with it. At the end of the day, know your ingredients is what it comes down to. Are you going to put arsenic in a cake just because it said, oh, well, the recipe said put arsenic in it? It must taste good because, you know, Jamie Oliver said so. But, you know, you just kind of like, you wouldn't do that. So why would you do that with something that has supposedly got magical properties? You just wouldn't. So what you need to do is actually research around it, you know, pick things based on instinct and then work with it. Understand why you wanted to pick it. You know, yes, you, by all means, check your correspondences afterwards. If you want to just kind of tick off and kind of, oh, okay, but maybe that's why I selected those items, if you don't know yourself. But it's the same with any item that you're going to use. It's going to be based down to what are you trying to achieve, and it goes back to your crafting triangle that we were on about before. But I will say the wagon wheel is very pretty, is it not? It is. Go on, you can come back on the screen now.
Me obsidian.
What about it?
I've looked it up in the Crystal Bible. It says if I put it on me in my pocket, it will promote digestion.
Okay.
If a lady comes in the shop and buys it and sticks it in her pocket, will it promote digestion?
No, unless you swallow it, maybe.
I wouldn't recommend that.
But how else are you supposed to get it close enough to your bodily functions in order to make a difference?
Well, I'm wondering why is there so
charging
much
it and
false
directing that
information in
energy
these books that people end up buying, because that's the problem. They buy the books and then the books say, oh, each of these are wonderful things. They all do something. Learn what they all do and then go and buy the thing which marries up with what you want to do. If you've got bad digestion, you've got to go and buy this. You've got to go and buy this because that's what the book says. If you had someone that said, I might have some problems with eating, I eat too much, and I want to stop eating so much, and I want a crystal to help me do that, and you took them to the wagon wheel, what would you say? Would you say, right, lady, I can sell you this for $4.99 because that's what the book says you've got to have? Or would you do something different?
Of course, I'd do something different. When have I ever taught anything from a book?
Tell us what you would do.
Well, one, it's a strange example, but at the end of the day, it would be, why do you want crystals specifically? What do you, in what way are you used to using them? And if she says, well, I just buy them and I stick them on the windowsill. Okay. Well, what are the ones that you've got on the windowsill? What are they doing?
Well, she says, I watched this TV show called This Morning with Holly Willoughby, and they had a
Yeah.
crystal healing expert. And the crystal healing expert said, well, if you struggle to lose weight and such, or you've got an eating disorder, that's fine. You just got to buy a piece of obsidian. And then she comes to you to buy the obsidian and she says, Mr. Chris, I watched This Morning and there was a crystal healing expert that said I need to buy obsidian to get rid of this digestion. Is that right, Mr. Chris?
I'd want to know if they'd actually spoken to the crystal healer and they'd told them how to use said crystal in order to do it.
No, because it
Now,
was an interview on This Morning on the TV show.
Exactly. So at the end of the day, it's going to be down to the fact that, is that supposed to be a touchstone? Are you supposed to charge it with an intention and some energy? And then you're supposed to
Oh,
touch
yes,
it every
because
time you get cravings?
I remember from YouTube videos, it's all about the intention.
Liam, it's is it going to be down to the fact that actually it's supposed to be used as a touchstone? If it is, then it will be every time you get cravings, you touch the stone. But obviously the stone is supposed to be, brought home from the shop, cleansed, because lots of people, including myself, have probably touched them. And you don't want to be picking up any residual energy from myself, especially not on your rose quartz. Or you're going to go and then you're going to go and charge it in what way you would normally charge crystals. I'm assuming you would know how to do that if you're buying crystals. Otherwise, you should be asking us how to do that when you are going into the shop and buying crystals. Obviously, I imagine most shops in Glastonbury will tell you to put it on a windowsill in the full moon, because surely all you ever need is more feminine energy in your life. Anyway, I digress. At the end of the day, it would be a case of, if it is part of a regime, yes, definitely. But everything should be actioned in a holistic way when you're dealing with problems like that. Like Liam gave an example that he was referring to a physical problem. Your first port of call with a physical problem. This wasn't supposed to be one about healing, but because Liam's picked obsidian, obviously that's what's going to have to be. So the because you've gone and spoken to someone first, I would hope, doctor wise, or you've tried to make experiments with your own diet to say, oh, actually, if I cut this out, it stops hurting, or if I cut this out, it stops hurting. If you're in enough pain that you then have to go and see a GP, you should be doing that first. You rule out the physical problem first. If the physical problem is not the problem, then obviously you have to then start looking at the metaphysical afterwards. Is it a mood thing? Is it related to the place that you live in? Is it to do with how you sleep? All those are the physical factors that start to build towards the metaphysical. And then finally, you start with the metaphysical. Don't get me wrong, crystals can be used in a wide variety of ways and have great effects, but you need to be able to wield them. At the end of the day, you're not going to just carry around a fork just because somebody told you to carry a fork. It's going to have a need and a use for you in order to justify that taking up space in your bag every day. If you don't know what it does and how it does it, why are you using it? So the problem that you have is the fact that they're pretty. If somebody handed you a bull's testicle and said, this will really help you with the digestion, all you've got to do is carry it around and put it in the windowsill to charge 3 times a week, would you still do it? Probably not. If it's carved into a lovely, I can even get the testicle dried, and we'll put a little hat on it. I'll even disguise it so it doesn't look like a testicle. You're still not going to do it. The main reason, the allure that you have with crystals, is they are shiny and they are pretty and they do weird things. So that's why you keep doing it. Are you going to join me at any point today, or we just talk? Are you just going to? I'm going to continue talking to the wheel again.
Well,
You
I
calm
thought you
down.
told me off. Didn't you tell me
I
off
did.
for joining?
I also told you to join about 5 minutes ago, and you decided
Well,
to
you said to
start
put it on
quoting
the
the
crystal
Crystal
wheel.
Bible. I
You
hope we're
told
getting
me
paid for
put
that.
the camera on the crystal wheel and shut up, Liam. I think is the sort of what you was. That was what I was getting from that.
And when
So,
I told you 5 minutes ago that yes, you can come back now if you're going to behave.
okay, I'm not going to behave though.
Okay, then you can put it back on the wheel then, and I'll just talk for the whole hour today. Yeah.
All right. Right. Well, I was just thinking that
Okay.
there's a lot of misinformation out there, and there's a lot of people that are claiming to be experts on magic that are giving false information out there. One of the false informations out there is that if you just carry a crystal around with you, like the New Age movement says, a lot of people in the New Age movement say this, it emits a magical energy, and all I got to do is buy that rose quartz crystal that's overpriced, often from the New Age person that's saying this, and put it in my pocket, and all my troubles will go away. And personally, as a professional witch, I don't think it's that simple. And that's what I want to delve into. I want to delve into how someone does use crystals for magical uses. So, upon selection, if you decide that you want to use a crystal for some sort of magic, there are ways in which you could incorporate it. Unfortunately, I don't get a lot of that. What I get is I get someone come in to the shop, coming
And saying,
over to
what
me,
does this do?
and saying, this orange one, what does it do? And then you say, what do you want it to do? Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know. I've read in the Bible of the crystals that it does such and such, but I don't want that. But I like it. But because the crystal Bible said it doesn't do that, I have to put it back. Ooh, this one over here. What does that one do? And that's what I get over and over and over and over again. All I get is people asking what it does, because what they expect is they expect a bullet point list of every single crystal we sell and something next to it writing what it does. This one, labradorite, well, that attracts the spirit. This one, clear quartz, well, you can use that for anything. You can't use the other ones for anything, but you can use that one, apparently.
That's
like
only
the old
what
white
that's
candle
what
trick.
Scott
You can't
Cunningham
use a
says.
black candle for everything, but you can use a white one, apparently. All that kind of rubbish. All the, well, what's my zodiac sign? Oh, I can only carry that certain crystal because I've got a certain zodiac sign. All of that crap, that's what I want to kind of dispel. That's one of our big pet hates, isn't it? Dispelling myths like that. And I want to talk a little bit more like we talk about the herbs, obviously. With the herbs, you get people doing the same thing. When we've got this, and someone comes in the shop and they think, oh, rosemary. In the book, written by Scott Cunningham or some other Wiccan, it says that I use this for protection. So I've got to buy it to use in protection magic. When in reality, this can do many different things. And you need to work out what those things are. So when I see the difference between how people approach these and how people approach the crystals, it seems to be the same to me. It always is a case of I've got to memorize correspondences, and we
And
don't
what would
like
we say to that?
correspondences. That's
We
the
would say
problem.
work with it, learn it. How does
Yeah.
it taste? You know, obviously be careful about knowing whether or not something you're about to put in your mouth is poisonous and where it's been sourced from. But if you're growing the plant, you have that relationship with the plant. You can then start to use it in different ways that are appropriate to you. Like, you know, I overuse rosemary all the time, But it's not because Scott Cunningham told me to. It's because my source for my rosemary is a plant that has been in my life for over 20 years. I'm only in my 30s. Like,
Yeah.
2/3 of my life, that plant has been there, what at my family home, while everything that has happened since I was 10 has been happening. It has lots of innate a relationship that I have built, trimming it back every year, moving it around, making sure it's watered when it's dry. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that established relationship means that I can ask more of rosemary than probably somebody else would, because my rosemary will respond in the way that it's supposed to, because I have that relationship I have worked for. Just because you have gone and bought something from a shop is not going to guarantee that it works. At the end of the day, it's a craft. So a master craftsman can pick up any bodice and use it, because they'll understand what it does, how it does its thing, and what quantity to use to make it work. They're not likely to go and buy it from just anywhere, because they're going to want to know where it came from. So, it is the same when it comes to these stones. What I never get asked is, where in the world is this from? What's its chemical constitution? Like, I don't get
People
those
don't care.
questions,
People
because they
don't
don't
care.
care about those. They care about what the Crystal Bible said. And the Crystal Bible said, I've got to have this, and I've got to have one in every colour, because it needs to be available to do everything. Now, one thing I do want to say, because we've done a lot of bashing today, is not all crystal healers are idiots or are trying to sell you something they don't understand. They normally very strongly believe what they're telling you, but also may not, or may some of them do, because I have met really good Reiki healers, but they understand the craft that they are selling. And that's the difference. You can't just go to, like, you wouldn't just go to any, we have a lot of trust when it comes to doctors, but you just wouldn't go to just any chiropractor. You'd go to a chiropractor that has a reputation for being good, that friends have used. You wouldn't go and use a personal instructor, a PT, and just go, oh yeah, he knows exactly what he's doing because he's a personal instructor. Like, there's only so far that can go. It's the same when you go and use a healer or a psychic or a witch. You should be able to record, notice the difference between them. One, you should be able to have that conversation with them. They should be able to answer the questions that you have to ask, and they shouldn't be scared to say, actually, I don't know. I would hope it's not one of the crystal wands they've got in their hand when they're using it, and they use it every time in order to activate all the stones that are all up your chest. Is a different matter. That if they at that point go, no, I don't know, just this is what I do, I'll just wave a stick about. Yes, they'll give you some kind of response, but you need to be able to challenge that response. Yes, go and try these treatments, because some of them are really good. I've had my chakras aligned several times in the last 10 years, but they're at a point when I've gone, these like, it's a trade-off sometimes with some practitioners. I've never actually gone to one because I felt the need to go to one. I've gone there for being around them and gone, actually, I haven't seen you for a while. Do you mind having a go? And to a certain extent, that's normally to see if they've improved, because you know how I like to test psychics. It's not a secret. But it's part of that. You need to have a rapport with the practitioners you're working with and with the ingredients you are working with. You need to consider them as other practitioners. A rock that has been created in a volcano 2 billion years ago, and has only just made it to the surface, probably knows a bit more about crystals than you do. How are you going to reach through that crystal in order to access that point? So anyway, sorry, I'm rambling now at this point. You normally would have interjected by now, so I'm a bit nervous.
I think that the problem is there's too much false information out about crystals. the crystal industry in itself is terrible, and it really does exploit people. And
On both
as
ends,
well,
we're
a
talking
lot of
about.
the times when you're buying crystals, you're being overcharged for them. So it's not really very good. I mean, who's benefiting at the end of the day? And another reason is that it becomes more of a collector's item than a tool. And I don't like to see that in witchcraft. If you want to start a rock collection, that's fine, but it's a rock collection. You're not really a witch if you're just collecting crystals and stuff. So I don't really like that. I'm perfectly happy to use crystals and things, but I do so for a very, very specific reason. I wouldn't go out and get the rose quartz crystal or the this crystal or the that crystal because a book told me to. What I would say is what am I wanting to do? Okay, so a client's to come to me and a client said, I'm really wanting to strengthen the bond with my partner. Okay, strengthening a bond, an unbreakable bond. What does that mean? What sort of energy is that? Something kind of Saturnine, something essentially immovable, something unbreakable. So I might say I want to work with some sort of Saturnine energy, but I want to give them something. I want to make something that they can keep. There's going to be a symbol of this magical work that they can add to and create power. What symbology can I use with that? Well, I know from the perspective of how energy works that I can put energy into things. So what I want is a Tupperware container, but a Tupperware container that don't look like a Tupperware container because they look ugly. I mean, it's a plastic container, it looks ugly. So I want to get something kind of a little pretty. So I think something that really is good at containing Saturnian energy, Saturnine energy, I can do. Oh, okay. This obsidian is quite good for that. It's black, it's obsidian. I know from experience that it retains that Saturnine energy better. Look, this Tupperware container isn't as good at storing liquids as the other one that I had. This one. This one's a Tupperware container. This one's a Tupperware container. This is better for storing liquids. I can put liquids in both of them. I can put Saturnine in that rose quartz, and I can also put it in that. I know that this is slightly better at storing it. Okay? If I was a master witch,
It
professional
wouldn't
witch,
matter.
and I had nothing else, I would force it in here. But I know that it's not as good, right? I don't use a crystal book to tell me that. I get to know from experience what works with what, build a palette, and learn the tools. Much like when you get a Tupperware container kit, you think, well, that one's perfect for pasta. That one's perfect for the lasagna sheets. That one's quite good for rice. That one I haven't got a use for yet. I'm going to put it in a cupboard and forget about it until it suddenly pops in my head 10 years down the line when I think, oh, peanuts. The packet's broken. It's got a hole in the bottom, but there's only a couple left. I'll put in the little square container that I put in that drawer 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But I could give them that, but then I could add something to it. I could think, well, that's a kind of a crystal. Gonna look a bit odd putting that on the fireplace. So what else can I work in symbolically for this? Let me have a little look. Let me have a look at what else we got. Oh, right. We got our crystals. We've got some crystal animals and such. What about this? This is made of obsidian. This is a penguin. Penguins are mate for life. Well, if I want to do a little spell for family bonds and it's in the shape of a penguin, not only can I disguise that by sticking it and giving that to someone and they're going to think, oh, you gave me a penguin, thanks. But actually that penguin is a spell. It's got energy attached to it. Saturnian energy that's going to force people together and make it very difficult for them to part. Little spell, little ingredients, adding things together, that sort of thing. The Crystal Bible doesn't tell you that. You have to use your intuition and your knowledge of magic and energy to do that.
But the Crystal Bible writer probably didn't know that, and
No,
that's
the
the
Crystal
difference.
Bible writer is an idiot. It's trying
So
to
what
peddle
they've
a load
done
of crap.
is
The person should
combined.
have burnt
It's an
the book.
encyclopedia.
Is it written by Llewellyn?
I don't think it
No,
is.
it's not. It's one of the rare crap books that aren't written by Llewellyn.
So, but it's one of those that it is supposed to be what it is supposed to be, which is an encyclopedia. It's a collection of knowledge. It doesn't tell you how to use that knowledge. It is just categorized by, well, I imagine it's alphabetical. I can't imagine it's organized by desire. Otherwise, it probably was written by some kind of Wiccan. But the fact is that actually is probably written by a geologist company who want to make more money on selling books that know that are going to sell for the geology industry. So, you know, it is who wrote the book and why did they write it is just as important the same way as when you go and get a recommendation for a new therapist. You know, they work exactly the same. You need to trust that the information you are getting is coming from a reliable source. Just because it's sold 1 billion copies doesn't mean it is. It's in most. It's in most. I've actually seen, believe it or not, I have seen the Crystal Bible in a dentist's office. You know, the waiting room. Like it's one of those books that is so cheap to get hold of because there are so many copies bought, printed, means that it's one of those things that you find it in the hairdressers and the dentist waiting room to entertain people for 5 minutes while they're waiting for their appointment. It's one of those books. I'm not saying it's not useful, but everything you read should be taken with a pinch of salt, and you should be reading that book and going, that works to me. You know, we touched on bibliomancy earlier. Maybe we do a session on that at some point. But you know, you should be reading through that and going, that makes sense. I like the sound of that. That works. If that's how you're using the book, then it's not being wasted. You know, having by wasted, I mean taking up room on your shelf. I don't mean, you know, having wasted money buying it, which you probably have. Is the fact that actually, if somebody's given you a copy to flick through, and then you kind of go, okay, I never heard of this stone. I might want to work with that one. That's a different approach. That's you going through a book and going, there are hundreds of them in here, but that one's drawn to me. I don't know why. I'm going to try and get me some on Amazon or at thothwitchcraft.com if we sell it. If it's obscure, probably not just yet. We don't experiment too much with them, do we? Because we don't use them. At the end of the day, you'll find with our website, we don't stock things that we don't use ourselves to a certain extent or have bottled something up ready for you to use.
Go
But
buy
it's
some
just a
crystal
case,
animals or something.
you know, so just because it's that particular crystal is not going to be why you've bought that shape. The shape will have meant something to you. The color will have meant something to you. And what you're about to do with it is what will make the difference. You gifting an onyx, a fox to somebody has, other than being a pretty gift, is not gifting them anything unless you have charged it for them or told them how to charge it. Otherwise, you've just bought them a pretty gift. I'm not saying don't buy pretty gifts. By all means, go and do it. Don't call it witchcraft if you're not going to do the work. So that's the difference. So, you know, with these, it's like any tool. Get to know it, and the more you get to know it, the better you'll be able to stretch it. The more you'll be able to achieve with it. You know, I still occasionally will go and look at some of these shitty witchcraft books that are constantly being published. I might flick through that book and find one page in that entire book that was useful. But I haven't wasted my time because I found that one page that was useful. But what's not going to work is you designing spells by going to the book and going, what's good for love? What's good for getting rid of an ex? What's good for winning the lottery? Like that's not going to work. You have you don't have any understanding of how that crystal does what it does. What I think we should do for the last kind of 10 minutes to talk a bit more about the these higher energies that obviously get thrown about with them, and obviously the frequencies that are often talked about, because I don't think anybody, including some of the practitioners, actually understand how that works. So do you want to start off, because I'm ranting again?
No, because I have no idea what you're talking about, because the Crystal Bible, it doesn't tell nothing about that. Oh, well, wait a minute. Wait. No, sorry. There was a chapter on the higher self and how if I buy a certain crystal pendulum, I can connect to the higher self, and the crystal pendulum will answer yes or no questions, which will all be obviously true. They'll all be the truth, because it's the higher self, and I can trust whatever the crystal pendulum actually says, can't I?
How many times have you seen people at these big fairs buy a pendulum, a crystal pendulum, and then start going around the place selecting other items to buy? They've had it 30 seconds, and the first thing they go to do is go and select items. They've not prepared it, they've not bonded it with it, they've not cleansed it from whoever hundreds of people have been playing with it for months. All of them go in, oh, I'm not sure how I feel about this one.
And I saw a rather not particularly sanitary man in the toilets not wash his hands, and then he went going in with all the crystals, and you just picked that crystal pendulum up that he was adding his dirty hands all over, and you're now using it to pick things. Oh, I don't like it, especially not in COVID times. So, if you had to say to someone, if someone had come to you and they said that you worked in a crystal shop, or no, this is something that's more likely going to be, you're in a crystal shop, someone has gone into the crystal shop that you're browsing in, and the person says, I'm a little worried about this COVID stuff, not gonna lie. Is there any crystals that can help with that? And the person behind the counter says, well, there's nothing in the Crystal Bible about a COVID, but there's a bunch of other stuff which are to do with healing and that. Why don't you buy one of those? Don't buy one though, buy a handful, so that I can sell you, instead of one for £10, I can sell you 5 for £10, and then I got 50 quid out of you. At that point, the person says no, but then they're about to walk out and they say, hello, mister, I recognize you from the Thoth TV YouTube channel. Can you please tell me what you'd say? I want to deflect the COVID and the people carrying the COVID, and I want a crystal to help me do that. How do I select my crystal, and how do I make that do that? You take me through, as I'm the client, you take me through that. I'll detach the camera so that people can see the wagon wheels and that, and then we'll see. So we got our little animals down here, and then we got our wagon wheel with all of the spokes. Yeah?
Yeah.
There we go. So, Mr. Chris, what are you going to tell me to do first? Because the crystal lady, she's a listening behind the counter, because she's like, oh, I might have learned something that the books don't know. So she's also listening, but just ignore her, okay? So tell me what I'm to do.
Okay. So in this situation, you've got to tell me exactly what you want to achieve with said crystal.
Right.
So what does this lady want to achieve?
I can keep on me that's going to deflect people with the COVIDs. I don't want people with the COVIDs coming near me. I want something that's going to help push them away. So how do I use a crystal to do that?
So at this point, you're going to have to pick something that, there are two ways to do it. You can go through the kind of sympathetic route, and you can go, what in here is going to deflect people from you? So you'd either go with something that is particularly ugly, which I know is hard for something that's pretty crystal, but you know, what would be kind of dirty looking? So maybe a labradorite or something like that. It's
Well,
got
I've got
lots of different
this.
colours in it.
There's
Oh,
this.
or a bit of
This is a
lava.
piece of volcanic rock. That's
Yeah, I
kind of
like that.
dirty.
I
But I
like
get
that.
strength. I like this. There's a certain strength to this rock, so I might go that. And it also matches me leather jacket, which I also like.
Okay.
Because when I'm out on my paranormal investigation and I'm rocking all the black, that's black too. And it looks cool. And I don't want anything pink because that's for girls apparently.
But why would you want somebody to see it? So it's not
Well, I
going
don't know.
to
Isn't
be
it in
seen,
my
is it?
pocket?
It's going to be
What
in your
if it should
pocket.
have fall out when I'm getting me keys and they think he's got a pink crystal?
Well, you should be comfortable enough in your manlyhood to be carrying
The
that
other
pink
thing
crystal
that
if that's what you want to do.
drawn to, I'm a little drawn to the dragon.
Okay.
As well.
So you want to use the dragon? Is that what you're telling me?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I can't decide. I like the dragon, and I like this, and I'm also drawn to this as well. There's all these things that I'm drawn to, Chris. I'm drawn to too much.
That's fine. At the end of the day, buy what you like. It's your money.
I got this is a bit of volcanic rock. I like it because it's square and it's strange. And I've got this is a dragon, crystal dragon. And then I also got this, which is a bloodstone.
Mm-hmm.
But I only need one, so how do I decide?
Well, you can have all three if you want them. But at the end of the day, you'd still got to think, well, do you want to spend the money if you don't have a purpose for them? I often buy things that I don't have a purpose for at the time. The purpose comes later. But we're trying to answer the question, which one of
I'm
those...
a skeptic, so I ain't willing to waste money. So I'm going to put this back because it's a little bit more expensive, okay? And I don't want to fork out money if this ain't going to work. So,
okay, put it back.
I've got these two, and because I got them from the thothwitchcraft.com website, they were the same amount of money, all just £1 each. So I don't know. I cannot decide which one. Do I want the bloodstone or do I want the volcanic rock? How are you going to help me make the decision? And how am I going to use it to deflect?
You're going to have to make the decision. You're going to have to make the decision. Are you just going to buy the one that you want to use for the COVID spell, or are you going to buy them both?
Well, I tell you what, I have got a £2 coin, so I am going to buy both of them because I got that £2 coin. And because it is COVID times, I don't have to pay for parking at the moment because there's no parking attendants. So I'm going to keep that money. I'm going to buy me some crystals. So I've got the
there you
cool square volcanic rock and I've got the bloodstone as well. So what's my next step?
Next step is you're going to have to pick one. I'm not going to let you use both. You've got to pick one. Because you don't need to waste both crystals on it.
What have I got to do with it?
You've got to decide what you're going to do with it. So, COVID. How do you want to make COVID disappear from you? Are you wanting to push it away? Are we wanting to absorb
I don't want anyone with the COVID
extra
coming near
clean
me,
stuff?
so I want it to be like
a barrier,
an opposite magnet, like it pushes or repels. Yeah, that's what I want. So if someone with the COVID comes, they'll just swerve off and go somewhere else, decide to leave or something. You know.
Okay.
I'm gonna pick this one.
You pick
because
that one.
it's just so interesting and like almost like a dice. It's like perfectly like a cube, which I thought was cool. So we're going to use the volcanic rock.
That's fine.
So what have I got to do now?
You can use the cool one. You can use the cool one. So the first thing we're going to have to do is take it home and clean it. And I don't mean with soap.
Oh right, okay.
But it wouldn't during COVID times. It would be a good idea to clean it with soap, just because some other people's might have touched it. But in normal circumstances, I'm not particularly worried about that. I'm not one of these that's going to tell you to use moon water to do this. So you're going to have to cleanse it. So because you're going to want to make sure all those dirty peoples that have touched it before you have not left anything untoward on it that isn't COVID.
Dettol. I will spray it with Dettol, and then I'm going to leave it on the windowsill just to dry out.
Okay, that sounds like a plan.
Right, I've done
See,
that.
you're already making decisions. This is good. See, you don't want to be told how to do it. You got to go, I say the word clean, and you need to tell me how you're going to clean it.
Right, that's what I'm doing. I've dettalled it. It's dry now. I've picked it back up again.
It's
all
dry.
dry.
Okay.
It does smell a bit of cleaning fluid, a little bit, but apart from that, it's all good.
That's fine. As long as you're comfortable with that being potentially next to your skin afterwards, or you might want to wash the Dettol off and let it dry again. Anyway, because you got to remember that is volcanic rock. So volcanic rock is going to absorb shit. So, you need to make sure that that's what it's doing.
Okay.
All right.
Done.
Next thing we're going to do. It is a black. Black is good.
And it got little holes in it, that.
It's got little holes in it.
Got little holes in it.
See?
It's like black cheese.
Black cheese. Okay. I don't think you want to have black cheese. Black cheese could potentially mean Ebola or botulism.
Which is quite ironic because this is they're deflecting the COVID, which is also
This is a
bad.
deflecting the COVID.
Cheese.
Yeah.
It's good. It works on so
Good,
many
isn't it?
levels.
It works on so many levels. Right. The next you're going to have to do is charge him. But before we charge him, we need to know, how are you going to make this spell work?
Well, I don't know. That's why I'm asking you. I ain't a witch.
Stop talking over me. Let me finish what I was asking. And I speak to clients like this all the time. Are you listening to me? Do you want an answer?
It's true.
I actually do.
Just ask little Delphi.
Just oh, that's cruel. Anyway, yes. So you're going to go, how do you want this to work? So that you need to be thinking about, how is it going to work? So is it going to push everybody away, or is it going to absorb the negativity, or is it going to push the way through?
I want to push them all away.
You want to push them all away?
Yeah.
So how is that little cube going to work in a way that pushes everything away? Is that cube going to expand to the point that it's a special shield zone, or is it a little quantum converter? Is it going to make everything disappear into it and disappear somewhere else?
I like the idea.
How do you want it to work?
I like the idea
of a shield.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you're going to have to tell that that's what you want it to do while you are charging it. So charging it in lots of different ways can do it. If you think, because obviously it's going to go on your body, I'm assuming. Is that what you're going to do? You're going to keep it on you?
Pocket. Can I put it in my pocket?
Yeah, you can keep it in your pocket. That's fine.
Keep it in my pocket.
Okay, that's fine. One thing to always remember, if it's something that's going to want to have an on and off switch, how is it needs to be switched on and off?
Well,
so if it's in your pocket, it is on.
Yeah.
If it's not in your pocket and not connecting to your aura space, so there's energy around you and your physical body as well, it's not going to be working.
I don't like that, because what if I have to take it out and I still want it to work? Because I'm in an office and I have to take it out to take my jacket off, but I still want it to work. So can I take it out of my pocket and put it on my desk? I still want it to work.
Yeah, it just needs to be in your space. This is the important bit.
So if it's away from my space, it's off.
It's off.
Okay.
It's not interacting with you. It's off. Yeah. It needs to be touching the railing on the top, otherwise it's not working.
Right. If it's in my space. Now, what is this distance then? So how far away can I go before it switches off? Is it going to be like that light in the toilet, which every time I go past it on the landing at night time, it switches on because I left the door open? They put the bloody sensor in the wrong place. Is it going to be like that?
Potentially.
I might have to leave it in the car.
Is
the car too far away, or is it not far enough away?
A car is probably going to be too far away. Very few people have got auras that stretch that far.
Right, so I'll leave it in the car, and then when I go to work, when I'm meeting the people, I'll put it in my pocket, and then when I get to my office job, because I'm an office bitch,
and you trust the people in the office.
On my desk.
Okay, that sounds like a plan.
That sounds cool.
See, that's going to work when it's around you. So that's what you need to know, because at the end of the day, when you get home, it just needs to go on the bedside table, and it doesn't need to be with you at home, because home's your bubble. So you're safe at home at the bubble. So, you know, you don't need that to be working when you're at home. So you don't need to have it on you all the time, just when you want it active. So it needs to be in your space when it's active.
Okay. Next step.
Okay. Next step is, now you know what you want to do with it, and you've got your on and off switch. What you need to now do is charge him. So, as it's going to be connected to your body, no, not
It's
that
got
doesn't
a
work
hole.
like that.
Look, it's got a hole.
No. Now you're being silly.
Well, I'm a mundane. I don't understand such
Yeah,
concepts.
mundanes aren't that stupid. Come on.
Well, I don't know.
There is a limit.
I've met some of them.
So, with it at this point, you are supposed to be charging it. So with that, you can charge it with your own energy, or you can charge it with something else. So I would think that because you're going to carry it on you, charging it with yourself would be appropriate. You don't need a massive amount of energy. You just need enough energy to push people 2 meters away from you. That doesn't require a massive amount of energy.
Right.
So as long as you feel that you can sustain that on the journey to work, and when you're in Greg's buying your sandwiches, and
How
when
did you know I shop at
before you get
Greggs?
to work, well, you look like one of them. You're looking a bit portly. So that'll keep you quiet for 2 minutes, won't it? So you need to know when it's working. You know it's only got to work for a certain part of the day. It doesn't need to work all the way around. It's not a protection thing. It's a push that while you're interacting potentially with people, that they're keeping away from you. Or at least it's keeping the people that selectively potentially have COVID away. That doesn't mean that when you're walking on an escalator and there's people either side of you, they should be 2 meters apart anyway, but it's making sure that if somebody is within your space, like they normally are in Aldi or Waitrose, where they get too close because they think they've got a mask on, it doesn't matter. You know, it's to make sure that those ones that potentially would are repelled. It mean like all of a sudden they got a sneeze or something and it makes them stop in their tracks or whatever. You need to kind of understand how it's going to interact with the space. Okay, so you only need to charge it with yourself. Bigger spells obviously would require other energy sources. You might need to charge it under a planetary sigil, or or need to go and do it with a moony space. You don't need to do that with this. This is just for you. Okay, so all you need to do now is hold it in your hands, in your donnies.
Both of them?
Either or, whatever makes you feel comfortable.
I got it there.
I can't see that you are ever going to be comfortable praying. So I don't think you're going to be doing it that
it's the
way.
Alibaba.
Oh, okay. That's fine. If that's what you want to do it, now what you're going to do is charge it. So I want you to be quiet in your space, thinking about how the crystal's going to work and filling it up with energy. Okay? You'll feel when it's done. So it might go hot, it might go cold, whatever energy that kind of says, it's done. Ping on the pop to ping in the kitchen.
It feels almost jelly-like.
There you go. Must be done.
I didn't do the praying bit. What I did is, because it's a cube, I just went round in the different faces. So I made sure I touched all the
All
faces.
the sides are touching. Yeah. Nice.
Right. It feels jelly-like,
nice.
Actually. It's amazing.
Good.
I think I've gone from being a skeptic to a believer now.
Well, I don't know if that would be true. I think you're exaggerating there a bit.
So,
but the only thing I would then mention,
and I charged it, but if it's got like energy in that, then how do I recharge it?
Well, one, it's going to be constant. It's going to be constantly charging with you, because this is something that's on when it's working with you.
Oh, like a hybrid, like a hybrid car.
Like a hybrid car. Whenever you're moving, it's going to be working. So that's the sort of thing that doesn't require you to recharge. What you might want to do is periodically, and once a year or something, maybe the day, every same day of the month, or in 6 months' time, if you still feel you need it, that you cleanse it again and do the rebond it. But that's
So
entirely
I
up
spray
to
it
you.
with the Dettol, and then I let it dry out, and then I clean it with the water, and then I let it dry out again.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Just because you got to remember that because you chose that particular crystal or stone, whatever you want to call it, it's going to absorb things, like I said. So if you'd have picked something that wasn't absorbing, I probably wouldn't have said that. But you've picked something, lava, that has an absorption factor in. One, it's great because it's going to give you that extra bit of protection if you were to accidentally come in contact with somebody, that's going to repel it. But so it's going to do the job that it needs to do. But the point is that you might need to cleanse it every now and again because you might get things sticking on it. And I don't mean fluff from your pocket.
What I will do is when I go to wash the car at the end of the week, I will take it out of the car because I leave it in the car.
Okay.
I leave it out of the car, and then at the end of the week, when I wash the car, I'll do the washing up, and then it'll be ready for Monday again.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. And that's me done, is it?
That's you done.
Right.
Now, do you still want to buy the other crystal too? What are you going to do with that one?
I already bought it. I'm back home now.
Okay.
Remember, I've done all the Dettling and that.
No, but what are you going to do with the other one?
Oh, I don't know. What can I do with it?
Anything you like. You think about it and come back to me next week.
I want to give someone COVID with it.
Oh, okay.
Can we
We're
do
going to
that
go
next
that
week?
side now, are we?
Yeah. But there we go. I'm out of character now. Wasn't that an amazing transformation?
Wow.
Well, that was a fun episode of the Fausty Witches.
It was fun.
Got to cover
but we haven't
else?
had any questions today.
No,
Is that because you were misbehaving for the first half of it and you scared them all off? Possibly.
People have been crying with laughter and such.
Mm.
There was a couple of tidbits. If they could make it through the beginning, then they deserve the tidbits. If they couldn't make it through the beginning, they don't deserve to know how to make a volcanic electro anti-magnet COVID and thingy mabob, do they? So they can just go. But there we go. So, anything else to add?
At the end of the day, it's one of those things. Use crystals or don't use crystals. It's entirely up to you. But I think you should probably be trying to make informed decisions about why you're using them. And actually understand why you're using them. And the only thing I will add on that is you can use a pebble off the drive. It will do exactly what those other crystals do. You can go down to the river and pick up a stone. It's going to do what you want it to do. The whole point of it is, like Liam said, it's a Tupperware container. It can hold energy. It can transmute energy. But it's only going to be able to do the things that you are capable of making it do. It doesn't do it for itself.
A physical representation of the magical work that you're doing, plus a little bit of extra energy in there, whatever's in there already, kind of like an anchor to a certain extent. Well, there we go. I think we're out of time now. So we will see you next week at 8 o'clock again. Go and buy some stuff from the Thoth Witchcraft Shop. Go on the Thoth TV YouTube channel. If you really want to learn witchcraft, then you could go on the Witchcraft Live Facebook group and you could start learning all sorts of magics and that. And you might even see us in there. Digitally.
Occasionally.
Yeah. It's cool, isn't it? So, well, I suppose the only thing now is just time to say goodbye. Do I need to sing time to say goodbye?
Yes,
Farmer
we'll see you all
karaoke?
next week.
No
farmer karaoke. No.
Bye, everyone.
See you next week.
If you're tired of all the neo-pagan claptrap that's on the internet and want to see some real witchcraft, please subscribe to the Thoth TV YouTube channel. If you really want to kick things up a notch, try clicking the No Holds Barred podcast link.